Welcome to Mimir, the podcast for ambitious entrepreneurs who want to launch and grow a successful business from day one. I'm your host, Maddie Kelly, and each week I sit down with founders who have been there, done that. We dive into the mindset, strategies, and practical tools you need to turn your vision into a reality. So let's get to work. Hey guys, welcome back to Mimir. Founders who leave an already successful career often surprise people. Why walk away from the comfort of a strong corporate trajectory? Why step into the unknown, into something most people actually shy away from? Entrepreneurship is one of the hardest paths you can take. It's all consuming, sometimes demotivating, and scary as hell. So why do it? Anya Cheng didn't start her entrepreneurial journey in a frenzy. With a powerhouse career at places like Meta, eBay, McDonald's, and Target, she stepped into startup life with calm, clarity, and a mindset that allowed her to adapt quickly and methodically. In founding Taelor Style, an AI-powered fashion rental service for busy men, Anya faced the same realities that every founder encounters: rejection, starting from scratch, and navigating self-doubt. But instead of getting lost in the noise, she made deliberate, thoughtful choices that set her business up for long term success. So, this isn't a story about winging it. It's a conversation about what happens when a founder meets uncertainty with focus, and how even the most impressive resume won't guarantee traction, but the right mindset will. Anya and I talk about what kind of mindset is required to persevere in entrepreneurship, how she approached market validation with surgical precision long before the AI was actually built, how to get to the root of what you're selling so that you can scale faster, why founders today don't need a technical background to build AI companies, which I think is really, really cool to find out about, how her leadership style is rooted in asking better questions instead of having all the answers. At Mimir, these interviews are about more than business. They're about how entrepreneurship shapes us as humans. Anya's final takeaway left me thinking about the world in a way no guest has yet to do so. Her final answer highlights how rare she is as a founder and as a thinker. This episode is for anyone looking to build with care, clarity, and grace, and for founders who want to make intentional decisions even when things feel messy. Anya's going to help you learn how. So, even if you feel like you're flying by the seat of your pants, steady leadership, sharp judgment, and learning to trust yourself at every step will take you to the finish line. Anya, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, hello. Hi, I'm Anya from Silicon Valley, and so just like Maddie, I am right now running a company called Taelor. We use AI to pick clothes for busy men. So for men who are not into fashion or laundry, they don't need to do any of these anymore. Before starting the companies, I have 15 years in big tech companies before, most recent at Meta, where I help build out Facebook, Instagram shopping. Was head of product at eBay, helped them to build out their new business in the US, in Latin America, Africa, Asia. Senior director at McDonald, helped them to build food delivery business when Uber Eats just started, and helped Target to build their tech office here in Silicon Valley. So I'm excited to share a little bit more about my entrepreneurship journey.
Wow. I mean, that is a powerhouse career if I have ever heard one. I think from the outside, and I think from a lot of people listening, it's like probably seems you've already made it. But I'm really curious, what made you walk away from this insane career and want to build something of your own?
I think that being a founder, you always need to have one idea that you're really passionate about, because you're going to live and sleep and for multiple years, and this is the things that you are going to work on. So it started with my personal pain point. Actually, when I was working for eBay as a head of product or Meta, I was only few female head of product there. So
Really?
I felt a little bit imposter syndrome, and I'm someone who didn't come from coding background. I started my career as a marketer, as a data scientist, but never really been coding. Went to 5 coding classes, but I never code. I led engineering teams, but I never came from real technical background. So I felt a little bit imposter syndrome, even though I know that not like rationally, I know I can do it, but it's just I felt not ready every morning when I wake up.
Mm.
So I feel like at least I want to look presentable so people won't find out that I'm freaking out every day. So I start buying some subscription boxes, and so some such as Stitch Fix. But you have to buy something from every single shipment, and I didn't want to own that much stuff. And I
Mm.
started trying some rental company like Rent the Runway or Newly by Urban Outfitter, which is a profitable unicorn in just 4 years.
Yeah.
And also like Armor, but all of those women's rental company require me to browsing through thousands of garments and pick. And there was a moment that I realized either you have to buy or you have to browse. And
Mm.
fashion companies have been designing for people who are into fashion, but not for people who are not into fashion but need to look good. So I started doing research on see anyone else need fashion but not fashion forward and not into fashion, and turn out that a lot of people think like me, but they are mostly single men, sales guy, people who are like busy men or lazy men who are not into fashion but need to look good. They want to get a job, get a day, close a deal. And actually, there are 52 million single guy in the US alone, 12 million salespeople here. It's $1 billion business, but
Yeah.
46% of men, the clothing were actually purchased by men, but actually still the fashion companies have been surrounding and designing their service or product for people who are into fashion. And that's
Yeah.
why Taylor was born.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think it makes sense from like the fashion perspective where you're like, oh, of course, when you think about like a product, right? You want to service the people who want your product. So I guess it makes sense that in fashion they're going to cater to people who want to be fashionable, but I think to your point, like there is a very growing desire to want to look good, especially with social media. You're constantly presented with the comparison mindset, and I find it rare when a man like wants to go shopping and knows what he wants to pick. So I think the business idea makes perfect sense. But I'm also curious, like when you stepped into entrepreneurship, especially coming from big tech, like what in your experience really served you to be a founder versus somebody who works for a founder? And what did you consciously not bring with you because you didn't feel like it was authentic to who you were as a founder, or you just felt like it didn't work when you started your own business?
I think so. The biggest adjustments is actually not about what, it's about you're more of a mentally prepared. I think when I was working for big tech companies and I was very lucky to work for those big companies. So people like to talk to me,
Hmm.
like either when I was work for Facebook, people want to sell something to Facebook, or the people want to work for Facebook, or people want to get knowledge and insight about the successful company so they can apply for their life. So it was no hard, and they almost very, very easy. Every time when I got into a networking opportunity, people tend to talk to me. But those glories and the business card, of course, were gone after I became the founder, right? So in the
Mm.
founding work, even though I build Facebook, Instagram shopping, if I help build those lead 0 to 1 for McDonald, but it's my first time being a startup founder. And in the founder space, I was nobody. I'm still nobody. I'm still like, but still getting learning every day. So you will start realize when you go to meetings or a chamber of commerce or conference, people no longer take you as a priority when they want to talk to you. They want to talk to those IPO founder. They want to talk to those big company like the account person, so then they can sell them something,
Hmm.
right? So I think that's mostly starting from, and then everyone when they see founders and their first thing or startup, the first thing is they want to give you point of views. Like, you know what, you should do this. You know what, let me
Hmm.
teach you. Like almost everyone thinks that like founder just need a teacher and they are very junior, and just you start getting a lot of rejections too, right? So when you are hiring people and you be used to everyone want to work for a big tech company, and now you're a startup, so people want to work for Google versus intern there. Or when you work with suppliers, and so today we work with 300 fashion brand, but when we started nobody wanted to work with us because we are nobody, right? So I
Right.
think that's a lot of rejection in a very short period of time, and there's a lot of doubting that you will start thinking that you are not doing right decision, where maybe you really don't know your space. So for example, a few 2 years ago when we just started, we went on a startup competition. So I reached out to 342 formal judges, to practice the pitch. And of course, my pitch was perfect. But after the pitch, when the judge asked me question, I stunned. I couldn't
Mm.
answer anything. Not because I didn't know the answer. I know the answer perfectly. But in my head, I didn't believe that I could answer the question. I was thinking about,
Oh,
oh, yeah, this question. Judge practice wrong number 37. He asked me this question, and I put his point of view in the appendix number 2. And number 2 means says I say what? I was almost like a student who are in an open book exam. I didn't believe that I can answer any question, so I spent all of my time looking in the textbook, and I didn't write down the answer. And the time's up. The exam was over. So that failure made me realize that I actually know my business, and only if I can trust myself, then I can really run a company. So from there, I changed my mindset, and I start taking those no feel a little bit more. Tomorrow is a new day versus anything personal, and it helped me build up my confidence little by little. And eventually, we got like Draper Associate for
wow.
Accelerator Global Championship for their demo day. We got in 500 globals. So and then we won another like 12 like AI startup competition. But I think the really important thing and hardest part is really about getting over the mindset.
Yeah, 100%. I think any person who is confronted with a new challenge, whether that be starting a new company or even entering a new role, I think anytime that happens and we're confronted with the potential that we don't know something, we always lean on our, like, I think you just overthink it and you panic a little bit. And I'd love to double click on like how you changed your mindset around that, because I think this is even something that I face on a regular basis. Like the panic moment of like, oh, I don't know if I know this. And I think there's something to be said for like if you settle and almost consider that it's okay if you don't know the answer, I think then you start to relax and you can kind of like the answer will come naturally. But I'm curious what did you have like a practice or something that helped you overcome that?
I think it's more of like there are some little tips. For example, being a founder, you all have like 100 to-do lists or more, and every day you can only do 3 more things. But then your to-do list just add another 20 things.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the same as back to product management. When I was building product, there's always unlimited ideas they can be built, but there's just so many limited time, resources, engineer and product designers. So you can only pick a few, get into every sprint. So the best way is just say no and get things off. Otherwise, you are always doing something that's very, very long time ago. There's nowhere that you can be close to agile. But one little tip is like, for example, we tend to say, I should do this. I should get on more podcasts. I should do more meeting more founder. I should send out more frequent update to my investor. Surprisingly, the more you say you should, the less likely you want to do those things. It's just psychologically, we don't want to do those things that we know we need to do, right? We have all those teenager kids in our minds like, yeah, I should definitely exercise. Okay, I don't want to do it tomorrow, right? So I start trying to help myself by saying that I would like to meeting more founders. I would like to send out more update for investor. I would like to expanding my comfort zone a bit more and by like learning more something new. So I think it's just that simple mindset really helps. And others, you just when, for example, as a female founder, we all know only 1.8% of VC money goes to female founders, while there are 50% of business in the US actually founded by women, and
Wow.
30% in the tech company in the Bay Area is founded by women, but only 1.8%, now 18%, 1.8% VC money goes to woman founder. But so at the beginning, I felt sad about the facts and heard a lot of horrible stories from my female counterparts. But then I changed my mindset too. Like, okay, if only minority will appreciate minority founder, then so be it. Must be a lot of minority. Depends on how you define minorities, right? So there could be people with color. There will be the interesting backgrounds on the VC. There could be women. There could be gays. There are tons of minority. There could be people who are from Nigeria and Kenya and also India and Singapore and Japan, right? So we are in America, so there's plenty of immigrants, plenty of people with colors. So be it. If I can only get those investments, no problem. happen. And that's how we have been able to raise successful funds with like Water Capitals or Berlin Capitals, those like really top leading VC. So I think so. If you do believe you can and you feel that you are ready, then you can do make it happen. But even if you yourself feel like I don't think I can ever make this happen, then of course you don't have a chance to make it happen.
Yeah, 100%. Your perception is reality. And I'm really glad that you brought this up because I wanted to talk about your experience with funding because, it's exactly like you said. I hear all the time horror stories about women going out and trying to get funding, especially in tech, and especially like as women of color, it's even harder. So I was curious to hear your experience, but it seems like it went pretty well. And I kind of was thinking about this the other day, like in 2025, I think that there are lots of investment companies. And I think that there's probably a lot who are women owned and fund specifically women ventures. Like, I think that there's just a niche out there for everything nowadays, which is amazing. But I would love for you to like talk a little bit more about your experience because I think that your mindset shift specifically will help so many other female founders overcome the same challenge that you experience.
Yeah, I think so. First of all, end of the day, they are investing in business, right? So
Hmm.
like really understanding like what are you are really selling to your customers and what you're really selling to VC or in angels, and understanding they are all different, right? So for example, like angel, they want you to exit pretty quickly, so they can get like 5x returns, 10x return within 3 to 5 years. But
Right.
we hope for the hope, like hoping that you are become a unicorn, so you will grow. Like for example, people invest in Ubers, they invest $50,000 and their return is 126 million. So they are expect you to be next Uber. Or for Google, people invest in Google for $1, their return was $18,000, right?
Wow.
So the people expect you to be next Ubers or Google. So first, understanding who are you talking to, and then second is understanding your own business. For example, people, when we started, we thought we are a clothing company. In fact, our customer do not care what they wear, but they care that they get a job, get a day, close the deal. They looking good is not the end goal. It's looking good so that they can get a job, so that they can get a day and close the deal. So what we are really selling is not closing. It's the peace of mind. It's about there's one more chance to achieve their dreams. It's about saving their time so they can do one more cold calling with the clients, can be spending half an hour more with their girlfriend, and then can spend more times to watch one more cartoon with their kids. Right? So we are selling is a service. It's a driven service company, which is opposite from in a woman's rental business, which is about women want to wear different things every day. So
Yeah.
fundamentally, the problem we are solving is different. The business model is different because most of our customers treat us more like buy before you try before you buy. So our customer
Mm.
rent the clothes, our AI pick the outfit to make them stand out, we send it to them real clothes, and then they wear for a couple weeks. Then most of our customers actually buy something from the shipment because it's about, for them it's almost like try before you buy. So not like woman's side, women want to wear different things every day, so we're not going to buy something. So our business model is very different. The financial looks very different. Margins a lot higher than women's space, and we are selling is a convenience. And we are, for supplier, for example, we partner with 300 fashion brand. When we started, we thought that we are selling that, hey, I can help you to monetize on sold inventory. Today, 30% of clothes go directly from factory to landfill. So why not, instead of burning them and generate 10% of carbon emission in the world, why not that I help you to find a new audience to sell your clothes? But quickly we discovered that's not 100% true. What's true was that they want to make money from their unsold inventory, but they want even more about the insights. Hey, I got this inventory this time. What do I need to make next year so that I will have 10% less inventory? What
Oh,
they really care is the insight. For example, you are amazing brand in Italy. You send your clothes to me, I rent it out. And immediately our customer tells you, you know what, your sleeve is 1 inch short. That's why I don't buy it.
mm.
That actionable, simple insight is actually most of our suppliers really care. So
Yeah.
we quickly discover we are selling is actually the insight and feedback from American customers with very actionable recommendation for them to fix. So I think it's really important on like what you are really selling and who are you selling to, and then so then in the conversation you can be more relevant.
Do you feel like from your experience in product that this also helped you get to the core of this? Because I think a lot of founders struggle with having an idea and a passion and like they kind of know what they want to sell. And I think this is also just the nature of the typical entrepreneurial experience. But like I said, you have an idea and then you go to market and then you get feedback and you learn from that and you kind of learn from that. But I wonder if there's a way to help people try to strike to the core of what they're actually selling a lot more quickly. So then that way they don't have to do too much iteration and then they can sort of say from the beginning, like, this is actually what we're selling. Or do you think it's more you only get that feedback from the product being out and in people's hands?
No, no, you are absolutely right. I think the product work in the minimal viable product is still highly relevant in this business, in being a startup space as well, right? And even more so because you may not have money to do
Right.
all of those stuff before that you can before you can build something that you may not even have money to build something, so you have to figure out what to do before and how to save time. So for example, back to the logic for minimal viable product MVP, it's about the earliest feasible solutions, which may or may not be a product, it's an experiment. Early feasible solution, they can validate a hypothesis. So you just have to think about what hypothesis that you are making. For example, Rent the Runway, the women's rental companies, their hypothesis is woman rent dress. So when they started, they just copy paste a whole bunch of dress from the department store's website. They don't even buy the dress. And then is they send an email out to a group of people who are going party and ask them who would like to rent those dresses. Because if people don't rent dress, then why would they need to buy any dress or work with any fashion brand or build any AI or launch any store? It makes no sense, right? The same thing for like Zappos when they started, their hypothesis people buy shoes online, right?
Mhm.
So they didn't have any shoes. They went to other department store, Foot Locker, to buy the shoes and then send it to people and then validate the hypothesis people buy shoes online. Or for example, when Amazon Echo started, the hypothesis is people talk to machine. Echo play music. So before they build any AI, it was real person behind and play music for the person, right? Because if no one talk to machine, why do you need to build AI to do those things, right? So I think validating a hypothesis is important. In our model, in our case, for example, we start with a simple landing page on Shopify, $10. We build a wait lister, and then one day there was a guy called Michael. He emailed me. He said, I am Michael from San Diego. Please bump me up to your wait list. I ignore him because I thought he's a scam. Like we have no one on the wait list. You are the only one. What do you mean bump me up to a wait list? So and then a month after, he was right before Christmas, he called me. Somehow that he connect me on LinkedIn and he saw my phone number and he picked up the phone call and he called me. He said, hi,
Wow.
I'm Michael. I'm a real estate agent. I'm here in San Diego. I guess real estate agent are pretty used to calling people. So I pick up a phone call and then he said, oh, I have been waiting for your service for 2 months and I know you guys must be really popular. We got nothing. But you guys must be really popular. Can you please bump me up to the wait list? I really like the shirts on your website. And I realized he's a real customer. So then we went to a department store, which was on Christmas sale. Great. We bought a whole bunch of stuff that's on sale. We went to the post office, put into the post office box and ship it to him. He became our first customer. And from there, we did like 100 of those pilot customers and learn about their point of view and build a business plan and start fundraising. And that's how we were able to raise $2 million 2 years ago to start.
That makes sense. You guys did a ton of validation ahead of time. And like, I think sometimes people miss this really scrappy element that has to come before the tech. So, like, if you didn't have the AI running at this time, right, when Michael first reached out to you, so then were you building the model concurrently as you're doing all these tests for your, like, MVP clients?
No, for the MVP client, it's just human, just my co-founder who has no background in fashion stylist, but really passionate about fashion, and she pick up stuff for the real estate agent. So yeah, then we validate that people want that, and maybe we wasn't good enough on the pairing. Luckily, we are also in a business that we serve people who are men, not who
You
are
don't
not
know.
into fashion, right? So they don't know. We don't know. So yeah, so we pick something that looks okay based on the website. So
Yeah.
hopefully
Like
everything's
Pinterest said it was fine, so it was
yeah,
okay.
right. So yeah, and that's also why like our customers, they are like single guy or sales guy who are not into fashion. They open their closet. They only have been wearing Nike, Uniqlo, Banana Republic, and Lululemon. So here you go. Here is something new. Give it a try. And
Yeah.
so, but we validate the hypothesis that people want this type of service. They want to look good. Just because this is helping them to get a job, get a day close to the deal. We are like the gadget guy behind superhero in movies. We are like the
Mm.
AI butler. We are like their concierge service, their executive assistant. We are renting the dream to achieve their goal, not about renting a clothes. Yes, they want to look good, but the most like for example, that's why our most the questions in our style quiz when I signed up, the first few question was about what's your goal? You want
Mm.
to work use it for day night outfit, or you want it for work? Like what impression you want to leave behind? What's important for you?
I think that's so special. Like, there's nothing out there. I think this has always been a dream for people. It's like understand me as a human and then provide me with bespoke recommendations. And AI is ripe for this kind of disruption and it's so fun. But you said that neither you nor your co-founder had like a technical background, and I think it's scary to think about starting an AI first company when you don't necessarily have that like engineering background. It can feel a little bit daunting. So, you know, did you have imposter syndrome around that, or were you just like, I will ensure to fill that information gap with the right hire?
No, I think so for pre-seed founder, no one expect you to have everything, right?
Mhm.
So, um, I do want to say that I did had a leading engineer for my whole career in the last at least last 10 years. So, we hire people from Facebook, Google's, and all my old colleagues, and so
Oh,
I
nice.
think it was more of like the time when you were bootstrapping. What are you really bootstrapping is not it's about the market lead validations, right? It's about that people really need this, and I know when I raise this money, I'm going to build this, and it's going to work, right? So I think it's even more so for market validation. At that time, we just have human stylists actually do so because if people market want this, then I would bias say here in Silicon Valley, it's easy to build something
Yeah.
pretty easy, right? So especially for AI application nowadays. So
Yeah.
the hardest part is, do people want something that you are building? I think that's the hardest part, which is what we focus on building it. Of course, after we raise a round, we hire my old colleague, join the company, including our AI is led by Zohair, who was previously chief data officer at eBay. So my engineering team were mostly from Meta and Facebook, and some of them from my own, like friends who have been on Google and YouTube and Uber. So we were very lucky that we're here in Silicon Valley, and my network were those big tech companies before. But I think that's not the first things that
Hmm.
the investor invest in you. Of course, if you are running like the tech companies that your mission is primary revolutionize certain specific way to do semiconductor industries chips etc, then you better have something. But for a lot of other AI application startup, it's about do market really want to have these things. And then from there, like for example in our AI today, it's not about algorithm. So today engineer no longer important. I'm sorry, the engineer is no longer as important as before. So if you look at last era, like Google's algorithm, it's about algorithm. It's
Yeah.
about the black box, what's inside the black box. But nowadays, most of company are going to use LLM. Unless you want to compete with Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg, otherwise that you are mostly going to use one of those few companies LLM. So what's
Hmm.
important is, do you have unique data on top of that?
Hmm.
And then on top from there, then you have engineer to do so. But it's not about having this unique engineer who are going to build this amazing, interesting algorithm unless you are deep tech company. That's my personal bias. I could be wrong, but I think it's about this era is different, and it's about what you can defend and which is your unique data that you can build on top of the LLM. So then as they grow, you also grow, but you are always one step ahead.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's about niching down and understanding your unique perspective or take on an industry. And from that, what data do you provide that somebody desperately needs that doesn't have access to? And ensuring that it's also scalable and like, where else could this data be applied? Because I think the cool thing about data sometimes is it has a lot of unexpected surprises where you don't think that, like, the way that you started or why you started will lead you somehow to this like circuitous other option that you're like, oh wait, somebody also could use this in this really interesting and unique way. And I think that's so fun about AI and data and how that all comes to life, especially between industries. It's just, you see it popping up nowadays across any vertical where it's like, oh, there's an AI company who's unlocking this in this industry and then over here too. And it's really fascinating to watch and to be a part of at this day and age.
Yeah, I think so. It's a lot more important nowadays on first again, like what problem are you solving? Like
Mm-hmm.
for example, like if you think of like Amazon when they launched their the AI for truck driver, it wasn't successful because they realized that the AI can detect if the driver is in a truck, in the back of a truck. So then if the driver is there, they will turn on the lights. But then AI can only detect when there was a light outside. So usually during the day, the light will go on because the AI saw the truck driver. But then in the evening, when the driver was in the back of the truck, it was too dark, so the AI couldn't detect the person's there. So then the light didn't get on, which of course the driver need the light at the time. So right, so end of day is about what problem are you really solving? Or for example, when I was working for Target, my colleague they decided to build an in-store GPS function for Target. So people go to the store, they will never forget one thing. They wrote down their shopping list, they shop around in the store, it becomes store GPS, so then guide them through the store. But our customers hate this product because most of the moms they love to get lost in Target. They are going to have wandering around the experience. They are not there to like mission shopping. They want to get away from their noisy kid at home. It's their getaway time to be, and it's a fun to be running around the store. Yes, they might forget one thing, but still, it's not for them. It's about that experience that inspire them to buy something they don't even need it, right?
Yeah.
So the getting like are you that yes they solve a problem, but it's also taking away the value of the store. So I think it's more and more important that it's building AI is becoming easy, so it's even more important like what problem are you really solving. So for example, in our case we solve the problem that fashion brands they can monetize on sold inventory, they get unique feedback, so then they can do better next year. We solve the problem that guys who are not into fashion with $100 per month they can wear 10 clothes, so then they don't need to do any shopping because it's our AI stylist pick for them. They don't need to do any laundry because it's rental, they return the dirty clothes. When they travel they don't even need to bring dirty clothes home, so then they ship the clothes to the hotel, they go home, and then the new clothes has arrived, so no more shopping or laundry. So that's the true problem we are solving, and it was different from the women's rental companies.
Yeah, so it's like early entrepreneurship almost just really focuses in on market validation and internal discovery around like what's the root of the problem that you're trying to solve, not just the overarching this is what I want to build in terms of a product. It's much more narrow than that. And I think that kind of takes the overwhelming task list, like it makes it much more manageable, because when you really start to prioritize, you're like, does this A, validate our hypothesis, or B, help us understand what we should be putting out to market, not what we want to be putting out to market. I feel like your day-to-day task list becomes very clear. You're like, oh, okay, this is not serving either of those two missions at this phase we're in. So you can say like, table that for later. We don't have to worry about that right now.
Yeah, I think it's also really important to think about um what's really your company's missions and also with the audience, right? So, for example, what we found was that because our customers not very into fashion, so they really want us to pick the clothes. But this means what? This means that we will never have any inventory issue because every item is 100% utilized because we pick for them. Or for example, we
Mm-hmm.
realize that because we are a membership model, so different from e-commerce, we know the customer before we source any product. And because we also realize because we are rental company, so for fashion brands, even we do consignment deal, we don't buy any inventory upfront, but they are not afraid because they always afraid that if it's consignment after I put your clothes in your store for 5 months, then you decide to return it back to me. But in our model, because it's rental, so from day one you start renting to a customer, they start making money. Even if customer don't buy, they can still keep renting until the end of life cycle, when it still look new, right? So only company that don't work with us will be company who has low quality inventory, because after rent out a few times, the product is no longer rentable. So we found out those things that they are like fundamentally different from other e-commerce company, and but really important for the company in terms of financially or business model or for customers wise, and then we leverage those so then can make sure they sustainable business.
Yeah, so it's almost like your missions aligned to core business objectives in a really harmonious way where it's like, not only does this make sense for your business financially and strategically, it also really aligns with your values of sustainability and being tech forward and really focusing on solving your customers' problems, not just their fashion.
Yeah, that's right. So I think it's about solving their problems. So that's why people ask us, like, what do you envision 5 years down the road for Taylor? And I would say, I don't think we will continue just be a fashion company. We definitely are more like a busy man's one-stop shop because they are
Mm-hmm.
buying the convenience, right? So imagine your assistants. Then if the assistant can only buy you lunch, then your assistant isn't good enough. Ideally, your assistant can do a lot more other stuff, right? So the same thing, our customer will ask us, can I buy shoes, accessories? Can you tell me where to do my haircut? Can you pick me something for our Valentine's Day? You show me Valentine's Day outfit, but how about jewelry? Can I buy jewelry on your side and flowers? Can I do an add-on for flowers? Because end of the day, what we're really selling is a convenience. It's a save time for them to get ready for their day. So we envision one day when they know what to buy, they go on Amazon. When they're not sure what to buy, they come to Taylor. And we are not like closing companies, more like their busy man's the assistant or
Yeah.
butler, concierge, and is the secret weapon behind them to help them to saving time and get ready for their date.
Yeah. I think that's so fascinating because it does seem to be the way of the future and it makes perfect sense. And I love the word concierge too, because I think that also lends itself to like a luxurious experience and something that is out, it feels like it's outside of the day to day, but it should be a part of the day to day. And it's really amazing that AI is making that accessible. And I kind of want to pivot a little bit because I'm very curious about your leadership experience. I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't get into entrepreneurialism because they want to be a leader. I think most of them just do it because they have a passion. And so they find themselves in these like tricky situations where they have to be confronted with problems that a leader has to solve. So, and with your experience, like, do you have anybody in particular who you feel shaped your vision for the leader that you wanted to become? And what did you learn from them?
Yeah, sure. I really admire my old boss, who is actually now right now on our teams, and so his name is Zohair. He was formerly chief data officer at eBay, and now leading our AI teams. What I really appreciate is I think he's really helped people to think deep on what problem are you really solving, and when you were asking something, he forced you to kind of think a little bit more on in details. Like for example, yesterday we were talking about, okay, I want the analysis on my most valuable customers, and so then he asked us like, okay, how would you define most valuable customer? And like
Mm-hmm.
the customer who you make most money from, And I say, no, that's not true, because then I don't want to only see my old customer, because we were subscription, right? So if I see who pay me most money will be people who stay longest, then I cannot see more recent customers, right? And then so then he asked, how about for the average order value per month? You divide by how long they have been with you and to how many months they have. Then I realized, no, that's not what I want either, because then I will only find like first month customer to happen to buy like 2 or 3 shorts, right? Then because they make a lot of money on the day ones. So then we end up land on, okay, how about people who are top 20% average order value per month and have been stayed with for more than 3 months. I think these type of detail on the thinking, like forcing you to think more detail, really help you to make things a lot more actionable for the team. Because I think the luxury of being working for big tech companies, people are tend to be very experienced. So when you say, I want to find my 80/20 rule customer, done. The next day, top customer by cohort has been analyzed and sent it to you. But in startup, like our teams are relatively more junior, right?
Mhm.
So when you cannot define things a lot more clear and on what you really, the problem really want to solve. For example, in this case, is I want to find a difference between my most valuable customer versus the rest of customer, so that, for example, I find it from different channel, then I can double down on that marketing channel. Or if I find them from different states, then I can do more acquisition in those states. If I see them buying different type of outfit, then I can double down on the inventory for those outfit, right? It's like, it's about why you want this answer and then what specifically you want the answer. And I think that training of thinking is very, very helpful.
Yeah, and you also mentioned something about the difference between the teams that you were used to at your previous experience versus the teams that you have now at a startup. And I'm wondering if there are two things. I'm wondering if there's a trend of people who worked for really big companies now trying to get into the startup world. Because I think a lot of people who work for big companies inevitably feel like they're very far from the product. And so they like to go to a startup to be much closer to the experience of the customers and to, I think, have like a bigger impact. And then additionally, the the way of working at a startup is so different because I mean, you're just more lean. Like everybody wears a bunch of different hats. And it's interesting that as a leader, there's a little bit more of a nuance there when it comes to helping your team. And I love the way that you said that, because you said that it's not just about the questions you're asking, it's like you're asking them to help your team. And I think that is also the sign of a leader who's paying attention to their team, not just about the product.
Yeah, I think it's just important to really see what your teams are looking for, because at startup where you don't have a lot of money, so you cannot always compete on cash, right? So, for example, I see founders say it's actually easier for them to hire someone from Google than hire someone from non-well-known company, because they realize that they cannot pay a lot, and ex-Googler already have money, so they care less about money actually. So I think it's
Interesting.
really about to think about what your team really care about. So for example, some people really care about that they have a chance to work on a AI specific product because they see next 20 years is all about AI. Some people really care about having a leadership opportunity to lead someone and being a mentor for someone on the team. Some people really care about having a chance to constantly be able to get practice on public speaking. So they like to representing a company to pitch because they may be not very good in that yet. So it's constant balance between who you want to send out. One day, for example, my co-founder asked me and say, I admire you, or I'm not always think so, although I don't always think this is a great question answer decisions, that because I sometimes send my team to go on startup pitch for the company. So of course, on the one hand, you want the best person to pitch for the company, who probably me and my co-founder.
Mhm.
On the other hand, if you never get your team a chance, then they never be the good person can representing you. So then you are always spending all of the time on pitching all kind of events, right? So sometimes when for the event that's less important, I just have my product manager, my team, and go practice. And so it may not be the best for the company at that moment, but I think sometimes it could be the best for the company and also best for the talent.
So, I guess last question. What is your favorite thing about being a founder? Everyone has a different experience, and everyone I talk to says that it's always the best and most rewarding decision that they've ever made. And everyone's why behind that is always so different. So I'm curious to know what your favorite thing about being a founder is.
I think my work become bigger, a lot bigger. And I would say, for example, on the year one, we grow so fast, like 10 years year over year. We struggle to find blue collar worker. As you may know, in Bay Area, actually harder to find people to pack in warehouse than finding engineer. So it's actually really, really difficult. And with every day when customers sales coming in, and if no one packing, that means the founder we go to the warehouse and we pack until midnight and make sure the shipment go out, because otherwise customers will churn, right? So because of that experience, and it make my work bigger. Why? Because before my startup, I never noticed in my community there's someone cutting the grass, there's someone taking the trash out, there's someone, the Amazon people come by morning one time and afternoon another time, there's someone actually cleaning the street every Tuesday. I didn't see any of those people. They are there, but I never see any of the people. For me, the convenience is just, you should be. Every day I got this Amazon package coming at 4. Why is delay for half an hour? Right? But after becoming a founder, I realized every convenience, it comes with 10, 20 people behind the thing actually make this happen. There's someone packing the warehouse, someone building the operational tool, someone shipping, pick up your warehouse, the stuff, someone sent you, design the email to inform you your package has arrived. There are 20 people behind the thing working seamlessly to make sure your experience is seamlessly, right? So before I would never notice those people because everything was supposed to be a sit. But after I became founder, I appreciate the work a lot more. When I see something in the restaurant, I know, okay, yes, people actually doing this and that. That's how we were able to come into the store and sit down and with a meal right on time, right? So it's really a lot more detail that I see behind the thing, and how I think that made me become a person that appreciates work a lot more, and also have an eye for a totally different world. And so I realized that I was more of living in a bubble before. So I think that's something I enjoy most.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to step into the world every day and feel more grateful. One of my favorite things about entrepreneurialism is it shows us these things about ourselves that I think make us better humans. And there's something magical about when we pursue our passions so effervescently and excitedly, and the things that come out of that are unexpected but make us a better, stronger person. And that to me is why I do this day after day, is because I think somebody is out there working so hard to bring something to life, and through that there's just so much beauty within that. So I really like that. I'm going to take that with me as well and bring a little bit more gratitude into my everyday and start to really notice all those little things that I think we start to take for granted. So thank you so much, Anya. That was amazing. Thank you for being here on this podcast and for sharing your experience.
Yeah, thank you. If anyone want to give it a try to save one word, like one tree at a time, and then also make your everyday looks good, presentable, and try to use Taelor.style. That's TAELOR.STYLE. And you can use the code podcast25 to get 25% off first month. So you don't need to do any shopping or laundry, but always looks presentable. If you want to just be our investors, vendors, supplier, talents, and I would love to talk to you. My name is Anya. So my email is anya@taelor.ai, taelor.ai.
I will also have all of that in the show notes for everybody who wants that. I know my boyfriend could definitely use this, so I am really excited to go home and tell him everything about this interview.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. This is Anya Cheng from Taelor Style.
That's a wrap on today's episode. If you got even one good idea, hit that 5-star button. You can find all the links to connect with Anya in the show notes. And if you want more founder wisdom, community, and behind the scenes, come hang out at mamir.ink and join the newsletter. I will see you guys next week.